Hello and welcome to Dad's Do Dinner with me, Chris Fazackley. You're very welcome. Thank you for bearing with us. I know it's been a little longer than normal. Unfortunately, we were all very poorly. You don't need to know the ins and outs of what that was like. But anyway, we're back with a midweek input on Dad's Do Dinner, and I'm very excited for two reasons. I know I'm always excited. But first reason, it's my birthday and I'll cook if I want to. So we're celebrating my birthday today. And with that in mind, our very first special guest edition, I would like to introduce you to Dad's Do Dinner, my dad, Colin.
Hi everybody, I'm really pleased to be here on Dad's Do Dinner celebrating Chris's birthday.
Ah, thank you, Dad.
You're
nice
welcome.
to see you, looking very dapper.
Thank you very much.
Awesome. I put my glasses on. Do you remember last time we had glasses on because we were doing a very serious dinner? Today I put my glasses on to make sure and prove that we're definitely related. Which is nice. So it's really nice to have an assistant today. So we're going to ask my lovely glamorous assistant to flick between two workstations. But the one thing I don't want you to do is panic at all. Take note of what's going on. You can still do it, just the one of you. So I don't want any complaint emails about I need an assistant. You don't. It's just I have this glorious one here today to help me. So as we do normally, let's go through our ingredients and see what we've got today. So my dad's going to show you and go through the ingredients, and I'm going to list them off through the microphone. So the first thing that we have is our famous garlic puree. Remember, fellas, you can already have it crushed ready for your perusal. Next one is some tomato puree, and that's because drying and pruning and crushing tomatoes is just something I'm not interested in at all. So buy it, it's really cheap. Next one we've got is some fresh basil. You can use dry basil, not a problem at all, but for this particular recipe it gives such a nice punchy flavour. Thank you very much, Dad, that's great. And then the last of our essential ingredients is 2 tins of chopped tomatoes. Now, you may be used to buying a jar of dolmio. I never want to see that in your kitchen again. There is no excuse from today. These chopped tomatoes are 25p each from our favourite Schmaldi. Okay, so then we've got some optional ingredients just to go through quickly. We've got some maple syrup, and that will give one of our secret weapon hints, which is fat, sugar and salt, so that fills that particular requirement. And then we have this wonderful jar here, which I'd like my dad to pass to me so I can explain a little bit more about this. This is red pepper paste, and I've got it from the car that rhymes with Mazda. And basically it's a cooked, dried and reduced paste made out of red peppers. It is about £2 for the whole jar, and it lasts 2 months in the fridge. It is brilliant. And we're going to add this to our particular recipe for extra flavour. So I've not actually told you what we're doing today yet. Have you guessed? Maybe from the next ingredients you will. So join me on the other side of the kitchen, where I have a chopped onion ready to go, and I have some 5% fat lean beef mince. Now, if you look at me quickly, the reason that we have lean beef mince is because today's recipe does qualify for all you lovelies out on Slimming World. So no problem if you want to have this, you can have as much as you like, and apparently it's all good to go. The only thing you'll need to omit from your recipe is any sugar and any fat that you want to add as an additional extra. So the only thing we're going to add today is a dollop of our famous maple syrup to give it some flavour, but you can keep that out, no problem at all. So shall we crack on? Awesome, let's go. So the first thing I'm going to ask my wonderful dad assistant today to do is start preparing the wet ingredients for us. So the first thing I'd like you to do is take the lid off the top, and then if you could put 1 tin of chopped tomatoes in there for me, Dad, that'd be great. Just be careful, they can splash back. If you don't have a food processor, don't panic. You can use any handheld processor you like, and actually, even if you don't have a processor at all, this recipe is absolutely fine if you want to just use the chopped tomatoes straight out of the tin into the pan, but we're going to whiz some ingredients down for this particular recipe. The next thing I'd like you to do, please Dad, is put all of the basil into there for me, and you'll need to squish it down in this particular food processor, but I'd like you to use the whole bag bar a little bit for decorating, please. That would be great. I'm just checking, Dad, have you got your hearing aids on?
Yes.
Oh, good, excellent.
And what do you want for decorating?
I've already taken some. Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, super. So that's all pushed down now.
Yes. There we go.
Okay, so the next thing I'd like you to please get out is the tomato puree. So what we try and do on Dad's Do Dinner is not be too scientific, so if you could open that for me. And then what I want you to do is I would give it a good squeeze, at least half a tube please. So half a tube of tomato puree, all in the whizzer, that would be great.
There we go. Fantastic.
Thank you very much. Okay, and then the last thing I'd like you to do please is add about 4 to 5 cloves of garlic paste worth of garlic.
Oh.
Don't worry, it doesn't have to be too scientific. For those of you who are used now to using my measurements, if you'd like to use a heaped dessert spoon, you can do. That should be absolutely plenty.
Yeah,
that looks great, thank you. Right, for our optional bits, we'd like you to just put a glug of maple syrup in. Don't worry about being too scientific. This just enhances flavour, but is not necessary for the recipe in general. Fantastic, thank you very much. And then the very last thing for this particular part is the red pepper paste. So I'd like you to put, he says, trying to get in the jar. Perhaps should have opened it. Oh, brute strength. You can tell where I get it from. Thank you. So the next thing I'd like you to do please is put 2 heaped dessert spoons of red pepper paste into there for me. Magic. Excellent, thank you very much. Pop the lid on for me and put the spoon on the side. Lovely. Okay, so what I'd like you to do please is pop the lid on, and then we're just going to whiz this together for about 30 seconds. Okay, so we'll just have a quick check and have a look. That looks really nice to me. Let's give it another 10 seconds and then we'll be good to go, I reckon. Beautiful. Let's have a quick look for the camera. Excellent. So what I want to see is a really nice smooth paste. The extra tin of chopped tomatoes that we'll be adding shortly will give a bit more texture to the dinner, so this one needs to be nice and smooth as possible. You can pop the lid back on for me, thanks Dad. So, thank you very much. We'll start with the meat now. I'm using beef to make meatballs and pasta today. You don't have to do that. If you want to do chunky bread and meatballs, that's fine. If you want to make it into a meatball and cheese sub, that's fine. But the basic recipe today is meatballs with tomato sauce, basically. Okay, so I'm going to get some of this going. So what I want you to do is take about 500 grams of mince for 4 people and pop it in. If you're particularly hungry, add as much as you want. This particular lean mince from Schmaldi was just over £5 for a kilo, so really good value. The next thing we're going to add is a bit of salt and pepper. And then after we've added some salt and pepper, we're going to start gently forming some meatballs. Now if you're doing burgers, it's really helpful to add an egg. And the reason you add an egg is because it helps just bind the meat together a little bit. But when you're doing small things like meatballs, it's not that necessary. So especially if you've got an intolerance to egg, you don't have to put it in this dinner. And I'm not going to rush to do it for this one. I never have done. But if you want to, you go for it. It won't make any difference other than it'll help you bind the ingredients together. The main thing to remember is that meat is what it says on the tin. It's meat. So you've got to treat it with a bit of respect, okay? So I'm going to get you to zoom in now and have a look. As you mix together, it's got to be with the gentlest of fingertips, okay? Don't do any squidging if you can help it at this point. And the reason is, as soon as you start squidging any meat of any kind, you start to change the structure of the protein molecules that are within the meat. Okay? So, the biggest mistake you can do now is start squidging it all together and making it into a block. Okay, it's the worst thing you can do. If you want it nice and tender, melt in the mouth meat, because we're going to be cooking this on a heat for about 45 minutes, okay, to really cook through. So what I want you to do is take some meat, lightly with your fingertips, roll it lightly into a ball, straight away. Do not squidge it together, it will ruin the texture of the meat. Straight in a pan with a bit of oil. Take a small lump, roll it around, do not squidge, straight in the pan. So, see the method? As soon as you start crushing it between your fingers, you're changing the protein molecular structure, which makes the meat very tough and very chewy. So we don't want to do that at all. So just really nicely, lightly between your fingertips, then roll it in between your hands and straight in. While I'm doing this, I'm going to ask my lovely dad to make sure that I've got a pan of hot water on the go. So Dad, would you mind going behind me and just checking that that's back right on number 5. So if you've got a chance to watch our orzo pasta recipe, you'll know that the best way to cook pasta is in really salty water. Remember I said that one of the biggest inspirations I ever had was the chef Signor Carluccio, and in one of his videos he was cooking pasta and he was on a boat and he literally grabbed a pan, shoved it in the sea, brought it out and boiled some pasta in it. That's how salty I want your pasta water, okay? This is going to take me a little bit of time to do, so while we're doing this, I'm going to ask my dad a couple of questions. How are you?
I'm alright, thank you very much.
Great,
yes.
thank you.
Enjoying this.
Great. What were you quite nervous about coming on Dad's Do Dinner?
I was indeed.
Oh.
Very nervous.
You shouldn't be. How long have you been cooking for, Dad?
So, I suppose I've been dabbling with it all my life, but in the last 10 years I've got really much more serious about it. It's become more popular on TV.
Yeah.
It's obviously become a more popular pastime for dads, and
Yeah.
I find it's something that's really relaxing and helps me to switch off after a day at work because it demands absolute attention and concentration, so it's a great way of forgetting the day.
What would you say to somebody who's petrified of cooking? Do you think it's really like by the book scientific, or can you enjoy it a bit more than that?
You can enjoy it a bit more, you can reach out, you can experiment with things. Sometimes it's not good, but you know that's part of the fun of it really, is to take recipes and adapt them. If you don't have all the ingredients in, think of something similar. And no, it's always good fun.
So what kind of things have you been cooking at home recently?
So I've got quite good at doing various types of curries, either tomato based or non-tomato based curries.
Great.
So with the non-tomato based, using a chicken stock, gets you that nice yellow, almost chippy curry, which I try to recreate, which is quite good. I'm quite happy doing pasta dishes. We don't use a lot of red meat, we tend to use a lot of chicken, and experimenting more with vegetable type dishes as well.
Excellent. And what's you mentioned to me before that you were looking at different ways of doing things. What would you say would be the recipe that you've tweaked the most and enjoyed more in the last sort of year or so?
That's a really difficult one. I think basic on the hob stews.
Okay.
Really experimenting with them, the amount of peppers and spices and herbs.
Awesome.
Really got into different herbs, and particularly appreciate fresh herbs when you can get them. So I've got herbs in pots growing on the windowsill.
Oh, that's such
they
a
make
nice idea.
a big difference to the dried ones.
Yeah.
Dried ones are good when you've got nothing else, but you can't beat the taste of fresh herbs. Chucking them into different casseroles really livens them up and really takes the blandness off them.
So would you say that using herbs rather than no herbs is a good thing?
Oh, absolutely,
Yeah.
definitely. All of the different flavours. And some of those herbs we were talking just before the filming are great just chucked in a salad. They just liven up something as simple as a salad, and they can make it really tasty.
What was the herb you advised me to shove on top of the salad?
Basil. The
Yeah.
basil here is great chucked into a salad. It really, really perks it up.
Excellent. And if you were going to cook something next week, have you got any ideas of what you would suggest for Dad's Do Dinner?
You can never beat a good curry.
Yeah, I knew that was coming. What do you guys think? I'd like to hear from you. When you see our post on YouTube and Facebook, I'd like to know, what kind of curry would you like to see? So there's the goal. Does anybody watch this video? We will see. Let's see who's going to do a Dad's dinner suggestion for a good old curry. Alright, we've done a katsu curry, that was very specific to Japanese cuisine. So let's see what we do next.
My favourite curry is a Rogan Josh. Big, chunky onions, lots of tomato.
Yeah.
Can't beat it.
Fabulous. Sounds fantastic. Thank you, Dad. It's great to have you here today. As you can see, I'm almost done. I've got plenty of meat here. This is definitely going to feed 4 of us, so I'm glad I didn't do the whole kilo. But there shouldn't be any waste at all. And remember, if you do have any leftovers, these types of things are great to microwave at work as well. So don't worry about any leftovers. Right, so let's get this on the go. You may find it odd that once you know I've done this particular bit we're going to stop filming, but that's because at some point we're going to have to let this simmer on a low heat for about 40 to 45 minutes, but it gives us time to have a chinwag and enjoy my birthday. Yay! 35, who'd have thought?
You wouldn't think that I was only 45.
He said, you look younger than me. I was like, okay. You do not look younger than me. Just saying. Right, okay. So, my balls are ready. What do you think? Nice? Marvellous. Highest heat possible, please. And remember, if you use a spatula, they'll be a lot easier to scoop them up and get them all covered in a bit of heat. Okay? Super. So I've got this on the highest heat possible. Dad, I need your help again if that's okay.
Indeed.
I'm going to hash you over to my glamorous assistant. If you could now get your sauce lid off and take it off the machine for me, that would be great. Have that ready to go, would be awesome.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Fantastic. I'll also need the other can of tomatoes, please, because I'm going to have to beef it up a bit to feed everyone.
There you go, turn over.
Yeah, if you could pop that there for me, that would be great. Thank you. Fantastic. Thank you very much. Okay, so just to recap, if you are buying Dolmio sauce or any other pasta sauce, I did it today for 25 plus 50p. I reckon I've done it for about 85p. So if you can beat that with fresh herbs and fresh ingredients, then go for it. That's my challenge to you. So, we've got the meat on the go, we've got our sauces ready. As I said before, you can have pasta, you can have chunky bread, you can make it into a sub, whatever you want to do. Okay, should we take a look? This is starting to fizzle now. I've only got a really small amount of oil in here because beef is an incredible meat. Not only is it the hardiest meat to keep, store and cook with, it's also, for those of you who are a bit worried like myself about food safety, it is the safest meat to cook with and it's the safest meat to store. So beef all around, brilliant choice. I think people are cottoning on now to the amount of fat that's in a lot of meats that we get. Don't be scared though. If you go for the £2 value pack of mince, it's not a bad thing. You'll just see the amount of oil come out of your mince. So if you do see that, I don't want to see any sort of water or fat come out of these at all. If you do use a higher fat content, it's not a problem. You just might have to drain a bit of the fat off as you're cooking your meatballs, okay? But don't panic, it's absolutely fine. So all I'm doing really is browning these over because they're not going to fry and cook themselves through. That's what we're going to have the sauce for. They're going to slow cook, as it were, on a lower heat. Once these are all browned over, I just want them to have a nice colour. If you remember our recipe from our sausage casserole, it just puts people off if they're a bit bland looking. So we'll just try and get a bit of colour all around the meatballs. Now, other thing I'm going to show off about, they're actually keeping their shape. So anybody that was cursing me for not adding an egg, never mind, kept my shape. So I'm really chuffed with these. I want a nice brown all the way around. They definitely won't be cooked through the middle, but that's absolutely fine. And a spatula in this particular instance will help you cook it a lot easier. Right, nearly there. Once these are browned all over, we're going to add our sauce, and then we're going to turn it down after heating it through to a low heat, and I'd like you to cook this whole dinner through for about 45 minutes on a low heat. If you get stuck at any point, just go in and have a look. It's not going to kill it at all in any way. So before I put the sauce in, I'm just going to do a couple of things to add a bit of flavour. So we didn't add any salt to our sauce, so I'm going to do it now. Really nice big pinch of salt. We're using pink Himalayan salt, you can use whatever salt you've got. And then I'd like a really nice big pinch of black pepper as well. Now then, who remembers my rule about alcohol? The rule is drink it. No, I'm joking. But yes, we're going to do. Chris enjoys doing dinner today because it's his birthday dinner, and also his wife's favourite dinner. So, golden rule of alcohol is you have your glass ready. Ready? Say it with me. 1 glug for dinner, bigger glug for Chris. 1 glug for dinner, bigger glug for Chris. And the golden rule will always give you a nice big glass of wine to enjoy with dinner. Love a Thursday. Right. The alcohol's already started boiling off. So you won't have any drunk kids, unfortunately, unless you want them to be. It's up to you. So we're going to add in our sauce now, because they've all browned over. Right. So, well done, Dad's dad. Done a great job. So we've mushed down all of that tomato puree, red pepper paste, and tomatoes and basil and garlic into this sauce. Straight in the pan. And then your additional tin of tomatoes just goes in on top. Stir it together. And as soon as it bubbles through, I want you to turn it down to the lowest possible heat and leave it there. Okay? So we're just going to wait for it to heat through. It will not take long at all. As soon as it starts spitting at you, you can turn this down. Remember, a low heat on electric is just under the 1 symbol, and a low heat on gas is a barely blue glow. I think that's what I said. Oh, spitting at me already. Oh, mate. I'm just going to zoom out a second. Dad, can you smell that already?
Yeah, I can.
It's great, isn't it?
It's fantastic.
It just makes such a
Excellent.
difference from a jar, doesn't it?
It does.
Really does. And all done, I assume, in under half an hour, which is ace. Okay, so we're going to turn that down. Lid on the pan, please, if possible, but don't fret if you don't. And we're going to sign off now. So, from Dad and Dad, happy birthday to me.
Happy birthday, son.
Thank you. Enjoy the recipe. I want to hear from you. So remember, have it with some pasta or whatever you want. And we'll see you very soon on Dad's Do Dinner. Take care.
Bye now. Cheers.